Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriritam Kalmashapaham Sravanamangalam Srimadatatam Bhuviginanti je Bhuridajana. Thy nectar sweet words soothe lives scorched in the fire of worldliness and purify the blemishes of our hearts. They have been sung by sages and seers of all times. Listening to thy words with faith is conducive to spiritual well-being, harmony, and peace. Those who spread thy words are really givers of the most precious treasures. I thank Swami. I thank our Jayashankar Maharaj. I actually know him by Jayashankar Maharaj. So he is very kind to invite me to speak to you this evening. I came to Delhi as he said that my flight landed here, and I had an intention to go to Konkan, where one senior Swami passed away very recently. But when I had booked the booked the ticket, he was alive, so I thought I shall be able to see him. But unfortunately, he passed away before I came here. His name was Swami Prapannanandaji Maharaj. He lived for about 103 years. As Swamiji said that I come from Sacramento. Sacramento is a center in Northern California, and it is also capital of California. It is not a very well-known city as such. San Francisco, then Los Angeles, they are well-known cities, but Sacramento is the capital, and it is about 2 hours drive from San Francisco. The center was started by Swami Ashokanandaji, and he was the head of the San Francisco Center, which was established by Swami Vivekananda himself when he came to this country for the second time. And before leaving, he established the Vedanta Society of Northern California, and it was registered, but it did not have any permanent property or building as such. But slowly, Swami Trigunatityanandaji and other Swamis built it up. Swami Ashokanandaji was a very powerful speaker and also a great organizer. So he expanded the work in Northern California by building a new temple. The old temple was built by Swami Trigunatityanandaji, but he built a bigger temple, and it was dedicated in 1959. Then he bought a property in Lake Tahoe, which is a very well-known place of sightseeing place, where he bought a large property for a retreat. Then later on, he bought a larger area of forest in northern side of San Francisco, which is known as Olima. Not only that, he established this Berkeley Center and also Sacramento Center. Before that, Swami Vivekananda had received a property from a devotee in New York, which is known as Shanti Ashram, where Swami Trigunatityanandaji established a center. So these are the centers that are still there, and they are being utilized by Swamis and devotees very much. So Sacramento Center has a reputation to be a very nice center because of the foresight of our predecessors. The land was purchased, about 7 acres of land, and then it was a barren land, so there is an opportunity of planning things properly, and it has been done very nicely. We have a nice garden, we have 2 ponds, we have a garden of saints, and also monastery, auditorium, chapel, and all those things. So in that way, the center is really a very beautiful, and many people, other than the devotees, that means the center remains open throughout the day, which is very uncommon in Western countries. They open probably for some time in the morning or evening, even probably weekly they open when the services are there, that means lectures and all those things are there, or celebrations are there. Otherwise, they remain closed. But our center remains open from early morning till the late evening for public. It is not that only devotees come there, even the members of the public come there to see the place. We have a nice garden of saints. It is not exactly like Akshardham, but it is a small way that has been done. But it is very educative. That means when people come there, they can learn to respect other religion, and also they know about the saints and sages of other religion. In that way, it is very helpful. And I have heard that by seeing our garden of saints, many devotees mean many people, just in their backyard also they have put some statues and all those things for the education of their children, which is really very good. So this is about the center, Sacramento Center, and I invite you, those who visit United States, almost in every family there are some relatives or sons and daughters living in United States. So whenever you have the opportunity of going to California, especially Northern California, please do not forget to visit us. It is between San Francisco and Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe is a big place and very beautiful place, and those who travel, they go to see that Lake Tahoe. And it is in between, Sacramento is in between San Francisco and Lake Tahoe, just a little bit detour one has to take. So now about the subject, the last message of Lord Krishna, which is known as Uddhava Gita. Uddhava Gita, as Swamiji told, that is a part of the Bhagavatam. The story of the Bhagavatam, it is worth recounting, is like this, that Vedavyasa, who was a great sage, and he is a great reformer in a sense that he envisioned that soon the Kali Yuga is coming. So there is a possibility of decline in the religion and also decline in the studies of the scriptures. So in that spirit, he first collected all the available Vedas and distributed imparting the teaching of those Vedas to his disciples, 4 disciples. And in that way, Rik, Sam, Yajur, Atharva Veda that we find were entrusted to 4 of disciples, and in that way they continued to disseminate the knowledge. In those days, there was no printing and writing and all as such. So they had to be memorized, oral transmission. So it is very important for the subsistence of those scriptures to be given to a group of people, so that one person will not be burdened with the study of the whole Vedas. Then he composed for ordinary people the Puranas. Puranas are the collection of different stories and mixture of histories for the transmission of the knowledge, spiritual knowledge that has come down to us. So that also he entrusted with his disciples to be given to for the propagation. And in this way, of course, he had composed the Brahma Sutra, that means philosophical treatise about the fundamental of Indian spiritualism, which is known as Advaita philosophy, and in that way he established that Brahma Sutra. Now the point is that he did all those things, and also he was often consulted. He was a great sage and knowledgeable person by kings for advices and all those things. So towards the end of his life, he actually felt that he is not happy in a sense that he doesn't have peace of mind, though he knows everything that needs to be done for leading a spiritual life, for the control of the mind, in what way one should live, and all those things he thoroughly knew. But still he was discontent, full of discontent. And in that way he was spending his time thinking what to do. And at that time it is said that great sage Narada appeared before him. And Narada was a great sage, and he had the foresight. That means he knew the minds of people. So by seeing the great sage Vyasa in a discontent way, he understood what is the problem. So he addressed Vyasa that, well, I see that you are such a great sage, but still you do not have peace of mind. And Vedavyasa admitted to the great sage Narada that yes, it is true that I have no peace of mind, though I have done so much for the humanity. The scriptures I have taught and have done everything that needed to be done for preservation of the scriptures. So in that way, he said, but I do not know why I am not really happy. Then Narada explained to him that, yes, you know, you have composed this Mahabharata, you have composed these Puranas, and have divided these scriptures and all those things. But while doing this, what has happened, you know, you have to apply your mind to different minds. Suppose Mahabharata is there. So when you were illustrating or writing about Duryodhana, so naturally you have to put your mind on Duryodhana, and in that way your mind got what is called attached to that. And then you drew the mind probably and have to talk about Yudhishthira or Bhishma. So in that way you had always apply your mind to different personalities. And that is the cause of your problem. That was your mind is really confused, not confused, but disturbed by different personalities and thoughts and all those things. And that is bringing in discontent. So then Vedavyasa said that what is the solution? What should I do? So then Narada said that, well, now you write or compose something about God himself. That means Lord Vishnu. How actually he came on this world to save the humanity. Those stories you write down, and ultimately, because you'll be applying your mind to God himself, ultimate reality in the form of Lord Vishnu, your mind will be concentrated and you will find peace of mind. So in that spirit actually when this advice came to him, he wrote this Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is the life story of Lord Vishnu's different incarnations. And towards the end, as Lord Krishna was contemporaneous, Lord Vedavyasa had the opportunity of knowing him very thoroughly, so he devoted the most of the book to Lord Krishna. So in that way, after writing this, or what is called dictating, if you call it in those days, he felt peace of mind. So he taught this Bhagavatam first to Shukadeva. Shukadeva was his son. The story of Shukadeva is also very interesting. So Vedavyasa wished that he will have a son who will come with the ultimate knowledge with him. That means he won't have to do any spiritual practice to attain to spiritual knowledge. So that was his desire, and he prayed for that. So when Shuka was born, it is said that he was all-knowing at that time. And it happened in this way that when Shuka was in his mother's womb, Narada actually was instructing, and he had the opportunity of listening inside the womb all the truths of spirituality. So in that way he became knowledgeable. But naturally when he was born, there was no necessity of doing any penances for him. He himself came with the full knowledge of spirituality. He is considered to be greater than Vedavyasa, greater than his father also in spiritual knowledge, because he was an embodiment of knowledge. So Vedavyasa first taught Bhagavatam to his son Shukadeva. And Shukadeva, in his turn, Vedavyasa told that by listening to these stories, people will find peace of mind. And Bhagavatam is considered that by listening to Bhagavatam, one can have the self-realization that truth is there. That means it has that type of spirit. And even today it is believed, because everybody is not really educated enough to pursue the scriptures. Everybody does not have the time to pursue spiritual practices. Everybody does not have the what is called the other things that needed to be done for the spiritual realization. So Bhagavatam is such a book, but by listening to Bhagavatam, it is said, Vedavyasa has said that by listening to this story of Lord Vishnu in the form, or Lord Krishna, one will have the self-realization. That strong belief is there. And even today, those who cannot practice spirituality, cannot go to for pilgrimage, and they try to listen when there is exposition of Bhagavatam. In this country, there are many persons who actually give discourses on Bhagavatam for the benefit of people. And I have seen in many places that there were Bhagavatkas where nowadays probably lakhs of people might be listening, but during my time when I heard 50,000 people actually listen for 10 days together. In the morning one session, in the evening another session, Bhagavatam. The faith is there in Bhagavatam, that by listening Bhagavatam, you can have the self-realization. The reason probably is this, there should be some reason behind that. That means Bhagavatam story is so beautiful that it will roam inside the mind. That means mind will, after listening to it, one can really, you will not forget it. That means time to time the stories will come to the mind, and in that way it will be a sort of meditation. And it is so captivating that probably at the time of death, the stories will come and one will be able to think of God, and in that way one will get liberation. Probably that is why it is said the stories of Bhagavatam is that by listening to the stories of Bhagavatam, one can have liberation. That is the simplest way or the last resort of a person to have self-realization of taking birth as a human being. Scriptures are there, different practices are there, and that require time and also some sort of understanding. If somebody knows that this needs to be done, then one can embark upon the study of scriptures and do spiritual practices. That is definitely imperative, but many people discover that after the life's end, we find that we have not done anything. So what will be the last resort? So by listening to these stories, actually one can have the liberation. Now Bhagavatam is we take that portion of the Bhagavatam which is the life story of Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna's life story comes in Mahabharata also, but it is a partial story. That means his connection with the Pandavas or Kauravas, that means in the court, that is the most emphasized. And we know that in Mahabharata, the scriptural part is the Bhagavad Gita. So in that way, that has come out to us, and that is considered to be one of the greatest scriptures of the world. But the story of the Krishna's life is illustrated in the Bhagavatam. From his birth till his death, it is written. So the first portion of the Bhagavatam that we need, his divine play in Mathura, Vrindavan, and such other places is there. Then we know that being pestered by the king of Magadha, Kamsa, Krishna advised his clan, that means Yadavas who were ruling in Mathura, to go to move from that place to the western part of India, which is known as Dwarka. Because he thought that a peaceful life is not possible here, and there they will be able to live peacefully, and in that way they migrated to Dwarka. And Krishna, though he was not a king, he was very much respected as a kingmaker. That means advices were very wise, so they migrated there, and there he lived for a long time. It is said that at the time of the Kurukshetra, he was about 70 or 75 years old. By our standard, it is a very old age that when the Kurukshetra was fought. But he lived 120 or 25 years. So all these years we see that he lived. Of course, after migration he lived there, but afterwards also he lived there. And in that way, towards the end, we see that he thought that my time has come. And also gods and goddesses in the heaven, because Lord Vishnu has left Goloka and gone to the earth to save the humanity. That is the way we believe that God incarnates as a human being. So they are thinking that all the mission is over, now why he is not coming back? So in that way there is a delegation of all the gods and goddesses, and they came to Dwarka and approached Lord Krishna, saying that, sir, your purpose or the mission that for which actually you have come is now over. So you should come back, because the heaven is without you for such a long time. So Krishna said that, yes, I have also given thoughts to that, and I'm thinking of going back. So when they are assured in that way, they went back, and Lord Krishna was thinking what needs to be done. So to establish a religion and to make the life peaceful and religious, he thought that what needs to be done has been done, except one thing that needs to be tackled before his leaving. That was the life of his own clan. That means Yadava. So they lived there, but they are very unruly, because probably the proximity of God himself with them, they thought that we can do anything that we like. So in that way they are living, and their life became very irreligious, and they are fighting with each other, and all the what is called negative practices, if you call them, they were practicing. So he thought that if I leave earth with them in this condition, so they will create havoc, and that will be not, that is not acceptable. So he was thinking what needs to be done. So in the meantime, a group of sages came to pay respect to Lord Krishna, because they knew who was Lord Krishna, so they came to Dwarka. And by seeing them, this Narada, Yadava, young people, they were unruly, so they taunted them, and ultimately what they did, one of the Yadavas, that means Krishna's son, Shambhu himself actually, was dressed like a woman, as a pregnant woman, and they brought him in front of the sages and asked them, just as a matter of what is called embarrassing them, that can you please tell, this woman is very shy, but she wants to know whether she will give birth to a boy or a girl. So she wants to know, but she cannot express herself because she is very shy. But you are sages, probably you know what is coming up. So will you please tell whether she will give birth to a boy or a girl? And sages, you know, they are Trikaladarshi. That means they can see through the mind of the people. So they understood that they are making joke. So one of the sages actually said that, well, the child that will be born out of this woman will be the destroyer of the whole of your clan. So in that way they cursed them. And that was not the expectation of these unruly boys. So they went to the king and said that these sages have been given this curse, and Lord Krishna also came to know about that. He said that, well, it will happen because it is not possible to take away the words of these great sages. It will happen. So he said that let us go for a pilgrimage to the Prabhasa, which is Somnath. So, and do some, because our days are numbered, that means we shall die because the curse of the sages. We have to die. So let us spend our times in doing some religious rites, so at least the mind will be okay, and we shall die in a good condition. But in the meantime, it so happened that because of the curse of the sages, that boy who was dressed as a woman gave birth to a mushala, that means what is called a club. And that was made of iron club. And then they came and said that this has happened. The king said that, well, you destroy that, powder it, and throw it on the ocean. And so that with that club, actually, nobody can hit anybody. So they did that, and in that way, there was one piece of that iron which floated, and ultimately it went to the what is called the stomach of a fish, and that fish was caught by a hunter, and the hunter made an arrow out of that small piece of iron. And other iron pieces actually became what is called a sort of grass around the ocean. And later on we see that when the Yadavas went to Prabhasa, Then they started drinking and fighting and brawling with each other, and ultimately they come to the blows, and then all the weapons that they had, they are all destroyed. Then they took out the grass which was so strong that they started beating with each other, and in that way, all of them died in that condition. So Lord Krishna was also there, and he saw this condition that that was predicted by the sages have come true. So he said that to his charioteer, Rajkot, and told him that you better go to Hastinapur and ask Arjuna to come, because they have died, and naturally they are in a vulnerable, women are in the vulnerable condition, and he should come and take them away to what is called Hastinapur. That he said in that way. And he actually was contemplating what is coming out, and by just seeing this thing, and was lying under a tree. And then actually the story says that he was shot by a hunter who actually had collected the piece of iron and made an arrow, and that actually pierced his foot, and in that way he died. Of course, before that, he assured that hunter that he is not to be blamed for his death. And because he has done, he is just a sort of, he helped him to leave the body. So in that way, he will be blessed. So in that way, Lord Krishna left his body. Before him, Balarama actually left by seeing all this commotion and all those things. He was disgusted, and by means of yoga, actually, he left his body. But the point is that when Lord Krishna said that he is going to leave the body, one of his disciples, he was a cousin brother, his name was Uddhava. Uddhava was with Lord Krishna even in Mathura, and they were together, they were raised together, and one interesting thing was he looked like Lord Krishna also. So sometimes Lord Krishna, sometimes he used to make fun, so he used to send, when he was asked to come, probably he used to send Uddhava as like him, so he used to send him to the people who had invited, and they used to think that Lord Krishna has come, and in that way ultimately they discovered, no, it is Uddhava, not Lord Krishna. So in that way, Krishna used to make fun of with him also, using him also. But Uddhava was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Throughout his life, he was close to him, and when he heard that Krishna is living, so he came running to him and said that, well, you are my great teacher, and I had the great opportunity of coming to you and serve you, but when you will go away, because you have said that you are going to leave, so what shall I do? That means, you please take me with you. And Lord Krishna said that, well, it is not possible for you to come with me. It is not possible, because all beings have got their own karma. And until and unless karma is finished, one cannot leave the body. So you will come after your karma is finished, and I assure you that you will come to me. That is guaranteed. That means you will not, ultimately, you will not lose me, but you have to be here. Then Uddhava asked that, well, if you think that I have to leave after you have left, so please instruct me in what way I should live. Then actually Lord Krishna told him in what way one has to live. So that is that has come down as Uddhava Gita. The advices that is given to Uddhava. The word Gita means sermon, or the spiritual instructions. Bhagavad Gita is supreme. That means that was given in the context of Kurukshetra war to Arjuna, another disciple of Lord Krishna. And this is known as Uddhava Gita because in the context of leaving the body, physical body, Lord Krishna gave this advice to Uddhava. And Uddhava was of Krishna's age. That means they are cousins and of the same age. So we can imagine, if you compare the Bhagavad Gita and Uddhava Gita, you will find that there are some difference. Some difference means there is great difference in the teachings, but the philosophical portion is more or less same, though not as Uddhava Gita is not as elaborate as Bhagavad Gita is. In Bhagavad Gita, we see Lord Krishna advised Arjuna to fight. The reason is that his student at that time, that means Arjuna was young warrior, full of rajas. That means he could not change his nature by renunciation, which he wanted. That means Arjuna did not want to wage the war because he had to kill friends, relatives, respected persons. So he said that better we quit, give the kingdom to Duryodhana, let him rule, and let us go to the forest and do spiritual practices. But Lord Krishna said it is not possible for you to do that because you are not meant for that. Your nature is not like that. And there are some other reasons also, because without waging the war, religion or the spirituality will not be re-established. That was also another reason. But definitely it was not in the personality of Arjuna to quit and become a monk or renunciate. That is why he encouraged throughout, and ultimately he was successful, and Arjuna changed his mind and fought the war, and naturally religion was re-established. But in case of Uddhava, we see that it is different. And that shows that the teachers give advices to the student according to the circumstances and also the mental makeup, according to the what is called nature of the disciple. So Arjuna's instructions was not really instructions that was needed for Uddhava. So when Uddhava came to him, he said that, well, when I leave, you also quit this place, Dwarka, because after I have left, this Dwarka will be submerged in water. That was a forecast. Tsunami nowadays we call it, and it will be submerged, nothing will remain here. So you go to my favorite place, which is Bodhrika Dham, that means in the Himalayas. And there you spend practicing spirituality the way I have told you, and also you share what I have taught you. So in that way, you spend the rest of your life, and when death will come, and after you die, you are assured that you will find me, and you will be with me. So that was the samambunam of his advice to Uddhava. So then Uddhava asked, just like Arjuna, Uddhava asked that, well, now please tell me in what way I shall continue to live. That means in what way, what I shall teach. So then Lord Krishna said that, well, I shall give you some instructions or tell you what we'll be teaching to others when you go to Bodhrikashram. So another aspect is that Lord Krishna was the teacher and Uddhava was his shishya, that means disciple. And Uddhava has the opportunity of consulting his teacher whenever he needed, because they were together and they lived nearby, and the relationship was teacher and student. So first-hand instruction he used to always get. But after the departure of Lord Krishna, Uddhava was physically, the teacher was absent. So naturally, how one can live? He had not lived without a teacher, so he was thinking that how I shall live without a teacher and how I shall really instruct people. All those questions came to his mind. So Lord Krishna, being an all-knowing person, he understood that he is thinking that without a teacher it is not possible to live the life, and any help will not be there. So first actually he told a story which is also very interesting in a sense. That means he told the story of that Yadava king, ancient king. The king was actually in ancient times in the dynasty of these Yadus, there is a king. The name Yadavas came from that king. His name was Yadu. He was a powerful king, and he one day it is Lord Krishna, while describing this story, said that one day he was a religious king, and he actually appreciated sages and saints. And in that way, one day he saw that from the window or from his palace, he saw that one person on the street is moving just unconcerned, as if he does not have anything to do. In that way, he is moving here and there. By seeing him, this Yodu, that king, understood that he must be a spiritually elevated person. So he called him and asked him that, I see that you are a young man, you are fit to do any work, but you do not do any work, and you are moving just like him. You do not have any concern of this world. And so what is the reason? What actually makes you like this? And then that person, he said that, well, yes, I am a realized person as such, and I have come to this stage by following this. I do not have any teacher, and in that way I did not learn my spirituality from an individual, but I learned of this spirituality by studying nature. So Lord Krishna said to Uddhava that prayana manuja loke loko tattva vichakshana samudharanti atmanam atmanaivasu avasha. That means very often in the world, men who have truly discerned the truth about the universe deliver themselves from evil inclinations through their own exertion. The point is this, that sometimes we feel that without the help of somebody, we shall not be able to learn spirituality. That is a general belief, and it is a very common belief and valid belief also. Without a guide, without a teacher, it is not possible to go into the spiritual life, because spiritual life as such is beyond the physical world. It is at least beyond the mind. So to reach there, we need to have some sort of guidance. Often we cannot really jump into the spiritual life. So somebody should really teach us how to practice spirituality, what is the goal, and what will the benefit, and what needs to be done, step by step, all those things need to be taught by somebody. But this avadhuta, that means roving mendicant as it is called in the scriptures, they do not stay in one place. They go from place to place, and in that way they spend their life after their self-realization. This avadhuta after self-realization was moving in that way. So that is why he is saying that, well, I have learned all this spiritual knowledge, all the knowledge that I have gained, I have by studying the nature itself, actually I gained that. The reason that Lord Krishna is telling this story to Uddhava is this, that when he will be gone, it doesn't mean that the spiritual knowledge cannot be acquired without the help of a teacher. If somebody is really keen to learn spirituality, by seeing the things around, actually one can learn spiritual truths. That is possible. So in that way he is telling that story. So this avadhuta, by citing this discourse, Lord Krishna told this story to Uddhava, how actually this avadhuta learned spirituality by observing the nature. That is the first part and very important part, and also an important part in this age. Sometimes we feel that, well, we have our teacher, but the teacher is not really always available. That does not mean that we cannot really pursue spiritual life, or we cannot gain spirituality ourselves. And it is also possible, by way of illustration that Lord Krishna has given, that if we think, or if we feel that others will also not be able to learn spirituality, will not be advancing in spiritual life until and unless one have a particular person as a guide, that is also not true. By observing nature, actually, it is possible to attain spiritual knowledge and become a realized person. That emphasis Lord Krishna has given through this story. Nowadays, you know that young people especially say, because by seeing the what is called the different aspects of the religion that is being practiced or being preached, because you have to be a member of a sect or you have to follow a certain teacher and you cannot go to others, all those limitations are there, and also certain teachings are so severe that it is not possible to be practiced. So really they do not like to enter into practice of religion, but they say that we are really spiritual. We have inclination to develop spirituality, but we do not want to follow any religion as such, any enter into some dogma or sect as such. But the point is that we should not discount them. That means we should not really think that it will not be possible for them. It will be possible for them if they are really sincere enough and wants to learn things from the observing the things that are around. The life storybook, as it is called, in that way, by studying that, it is possible to earn spirituality. So how he did that, that is the story of the, what is called, that has come down to us, Avadhuta's description. Avadhuta said that, well, that I have learned these truths of my life from these 24 teachers that are in the nature. Nature, in a sense, he had learned from human beings also, but not as such by approaching him as a disciple. By observation, actually, he learned them. First is that he learned from earth. He says that the man of steady intellect should not, even though oppressed by creatures that are themselves under the sway of destiny, swerve from his path, being conversant with this fact. This is the trait I have learned from the earth. Earth, as you know, that we are trampling earth. We are always exploiting earth. That means we are mining, we are making this construction and all those things. That is exploitation. That means all the disturbing earth as such. But earth actually is not really reacting. She is always compassionate and also tolerant. So that actually he learned from earth. That means how to be patient and that means to practice forbearance. So earth is called Dharitri. That means it is actually holding us and also is an embodiment of patience. And this patience actually he learned from earth. Then he says that, well, these hills and trees are also there. Human beings and others are always exploiting them, but they do not react. Trees, as you can see, that they are standing there giving shade to human beings and other beings, and it is producing fruits which actually we enjoy, but it does not expect anything in return. Always give her. So these traits actually he learned from what is called earth and mountain and trees. Then he learned something from the air also. The air also is like this. That means he is saying the sage should be satisfied with merely administering to the vital functions and not things pleasing to the senses, so that knowledge may not be destroyed and mind and speech frittered away. Then what air, you know, in air actually there is bad smell, good smell and all those things. But as such, air itself is not affected, though those contents may be inside. So in that way, a person who is established in spirituality or following the path of spirituality will not be affected by the bad and good things that are really he is observing or passing through him. So he should remain in that way undisturbed. Then in that way, he also learned many things, 24 gurus. It is a long list, but something we can learn from the objects which taught Avadhuta. They are like this. Fire also. Fire is this means tapos. That means by fire takes the shape of the fire itself. That means of the object itself. So it is that also we see that in spirituality, that means tapos actually we can acquire, and in that way that heat as such actually leads us to spiritual knowledge, but we are not we should not be affected by them physically. That is the point. Then there is the sun. Sun is like this, the water is there, so with sun's rays, water come up, and then actually when time comes, that cloud is formed and it gives out the rain. So in that way, whatever we get, ultimately we should give away. That means we should not collect anything, aparigraha as it is called. So that attitude he learned from sun. Then there was a story of the pigeon also. Pigeons, we have all around pigeons. So pigeons, one pigeon family, and they are very happy, and ultimately they had their, they laid eggs, and what is called the small birds were born. So naturally they are very busy in maintaining them. But it so happened that one day one fowler came, and by seeing those what is called small birds, he laid the net, and they were really caught into the net. And the parents came back. First the what is called the mother bird came, and by seeing the children caught in the net, she actually wanted to save them and just what is called jumped into that net and got caught. And in the same way, father bird came, and in that way also he was caught. And ultimately, the fowler was very happy and took away all the pigeons, and in that way he took away them, and ultimately he sold the meat and whatever it may be he did. The point is that by seeing these pigeons' plight, he learned that one should be aware, not get caught into the net. One should be really very discriminating. One should be carried away by the emotion as such. The point is that it is definitely parents should have sympathy, but naturally the sympathy should have some knowledge or some sort of discrimination behind that also. To some extent actually one should go. So this knowledge he got by observing this pigeon. Then of course there is ocean. From ocean also he learned, that means the ocean from the top we see that there is waves and all those things, but inside actually there is peace, calm and quietness. So outside there may be activities, but inside one's mind should be completely serene. That he learned from from the ocean. These stories are so well known in a sense, that means utilized by other teachers, that Sri Ramakrishna, in case of Sri Ramakrishna also, we see that there are two stories which we'll find in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. One is the story of an osprey, that means kite. So kites are there, all around. So one kite got a piece of flesh and it was carrying away, and he thought that I shall go to a secluded place and eat it peacefully. But as soon as the other crows saw that he is stealing that piece of meat, they actually chased him. And chased him in such a way that he tried to get rid of them, so he moved left and right and front, whatnot, but they did not leave, the crows did not leave him. And ultimately, when he was doing this maneuver, the piece of meat fell down, then the crows actually chased that piece of meat and he was at peace. And then he sat on the branch of a tree and felt peace in his mind. Then he thought that, well, that piece of meat was really causing this problem to me. So the upadhi, as it is called, that means all these paraphernalias that we have, that actually causes the disturbances of the mind. So if we get rid of them, then we are at peace. So this attachment to things really causes disturbance of mind, that he learned from this kite, osprey. Sri Ramakrishna also used this as an example, how too many things, if you are attached, actually that causes disturbances of the mind. Another story is there, which is a beautiful story, how actually one gets transformed. That means by thinking what one likes to think. That is the story of the wasp. The story is like this, that wasps are known to build their nest with earth in the corner of what is called a building or something like that, and they lay their eggs, and they bring some insects like cockroaches and such other insects inside, and then they seal it. So young children, they feel that, well, this cockroach went into this nest made by earth, and when it comes out, that means when the nest is broken, the wasp come out. They feel that the cockroach actually got turned into wasp. So the story is this, that means by intensely, out of fear, cockroaches, when they are dragged into that nest, because the wasp, they will die inside, that's what the thinking of the wasp, actually they got transformed into wasp, that belief is there. The point is this, that by thinking of God, or by whatever we think actually become, that is the basic principle. And there are instances also in our scriptures, I believe, that just in this body, if somebody thinks intensely, actually one can transform the body into that, the thing that where the person is thinking. So that is possible. Intense thinking actually transforms the mind and body. That is the lesson he learned from this verse that Avadhuta told King Yodu. So this is a very interesting part of that book that has been used by many teachers later on to teach spirituality. But in essence, we see that Uddhava Gita, this is a part of the Uddhava Gita, but in Uddhava Gita, the essence is that Lord Krishna gave as such the gist of all our spiritual knowledge, but he emphasized one thing which is known as holy company. So he said that nothing is so much dear to me in spiritual practice as holy company. So then he gave a list of persons or objects which got spiritual knowledge just by the dint of holy company that he has said. So this book emphasizes, as Swamiji told, that that it is a book of emphasizing devotion with knowledge, as Ramakrishna has said. That means by studying Bhagavatam, one can get devotion, and this devotion is backed up with knowledge. That means he has given the great example of the what is called gulab jambu, as it is called. And gulab jambu, you know, it is first fried in butter, and then it is put into the syrup, sugar syrup, and it becomes very delicious. So Bhagavatam is like that. And the reason is that Bhagavatam teaches us devotion, but it is not really a sort of emotional devotion. It has got the knowledge part inside it. So in that way, if we can really combine knowledge and devotion together, so as Lord Krishna has said that ultimately we shall have the self-realization. That is the message that Lord Krishna has left to Uddhava. Thank you. Thank you very much.